struck me a little bit ago as I was watching a movie, What Saturday Is. Um, Saturday will be the 1 year anniversary of when my father passed away. Um, so while I'm thinking about it, I just wanted to remember my father a little bit. Um, I miss him. He he and I didn't have the best relationships when I was younger. Honestly, we didn't have the best relationships as we were older either, but especially not when I was younger. Um, he and I looked at the world in two very different ways. He grew up in backwoods Wisconsin in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and I grew up in suburban Indiana, basically almost a suburb of Chicago, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Two totally different worlds. I was a world of computers and video games and technology, and he was a world of hunting, fishing, cars. Um, it, it was a difficult adjustment for both of us. I took more towards my mom, and my sisters took more towards my dad. I always joke that my dad got the son that he always wanted out of my middle sister. Um, so, but it's Tuesday will be 1 year from Tuesday. Saturday will be 1 year from when he passed, the second. That's September. Sorry, my brain's a little frazzled right now. So I was watching a movie. And there was a funeral scene in it, and it dawned on me, and it kicked me hard in the guts. Um, my father wasn't a bad man. He was actually a very good man. It's, again, two totally different worlds. Um, he didn't understand me being more of a person of intellect than physicality. Um, it created a lot of friction. Um, but my father had a great work ethic. I'll learn how to speak here eventually. It's not like I do it for a living. Um, but he had a great work ethic. My father, for a good portion of my life, was getting up about 4 o'clock in the morning, getting home anywhere between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., and sometimes even midnight, but usually between 6 and 10, and then getting up at 4 a.m. the next day to do it all over again. Well, get up a little bit before 4 a.m. because usually left around 4 a.m. And, it's dad was in technically construction, HVAC, yeah, installing and repairing heating and cooling systems. So, I mean, he's not out there framing, but, trust me, I had to work with him for a little bit. It's still a very physical job, climbing ladders, holding trunk work in place, getting things fastened, and what have you. It um, it definitely took its toll on Dad. It's um, his body got the hell beat out of it by doing what he did for a living. But he did it for my mom. He did it for us kids, so that we would have as good of a life as he could have given us. Um, he wasn't a perfect man by any stretch of the imagination. He had a temper. Um, but don't we all, in some way, shape, and or form? Um, Usually, it didn't get out of hand. Every once in a while, um, I'd do something and push the boundaries too far, and you know, there were some screaming matches, and occasionally there were a few fists flying. Um, by today's standards, it probably would have been dubbed as child abuse. I didn't see it that way at the time, and I still don't see it that way. I do not feel that I was abused as a child. Um, Sometimes things got out of hand, but it's not like Dad was like, "Hey, let's beat the shit out of Richie today." That never happened. Um, Seeing how Dad's temper affected things, I try to have a better handle on mine. Still don't have a good handle on mine, but at least I can hold it a lot better than I could as a child. But sorry, just thinking about Dad. He worked hard and he played hard, and he rarely let up on me about my weight. Um, that being said, if someone else started giving me shit about my weight, Dad would step in to a degree. Um, he'd let it go for a little bit, but he would step in eventually. Um, he didn't do it to be an ass to me. He did it because he knows, or well, knew, morbid obesity leads to heart issues and all sorts of other fun stuff that I get to enjoy now in my middle age. Um, so yeah, this is just going to be a very learn how to speak here eventually. A very rambly, random Richie. Um, Dad lived a life to the fullest degree that he could. Um, he loved cutting up. He loved being a fool. That's where I got it from. Um, and very rarely was Dad a fool, not on purpose. Um, he purposely played the fool a lot. And that was just to get the people to get them to smile and get them to laugh and get them to relax. And that's just kind of the guy Dad was. Is he wanted to make sure that people could enjoy the time that he was around him. And that's one of the reasons I cut up and I do the stupid shit that I do is because I inherited that sense of goofballness from my father. Very rarely do I act the fool without a purpose. And again, that purpose is to make people laugh, to make people smile. I I'm not going to get rich. Well, technically, I'm always rich because of my name, but I'm not going to get wealthy cutting up and acting the fool. But I get so much out of cutting up and acting the fool that it is worth more to me than money. One thing my father and I shared, and shared deeply, was the admiration of seeing that smile, hearing that laughter come from another individual, and knowing we were the ones who managed to supply that mirth, that brightened that moment for that short period of time for that person. My maternal grandmother, my mom's mom, was also um, very into trying to make people laugh and things of that nature. And the thing about my grandma is she looked like a sweet, innocent little old lady, but she could curse a streak to make an Irish sailor blush. But she taught me the two most important things in my life. The second most being you can't have good times without bad times. You can't have light without dark. It's a balance. If you just have good days, you don't really have good days, you just have days. Nothing is going to set those days above and beyond anything else. The second part of that is that the darker the days that you're experiencing in any given moment, the brighter the good days are by comparison that you've already had, and the brighter those good days are once they come back around again. Everything is very cyclic. There's a cycle that's going on, and we are going to go through that time and time again. The most important lesson that my grandmother taught me was a smile or laughter is the best gift you can give another person. Pardon me. It's never the wrong color. It's never the wrong size. It's never the wrong style. And for one brief moment, you've brightened somebody's day. Even if it's just for a moment, you've made someone's day better by giving them something to laugh about, giving them something to smile about. So that's why I go on cutting up and acting the fool and being as much of a smartass as I can to pay homage to both my maternal grandmother and my father. It's an honor to carry that torch on into the future, and it's something I try to teach other people on a regular basis. Is give love, give smiles, give laughter. You'll hear me say a lot. Be the change you want to see in the world. If you want to see a brighter world, if you want to see a more smiling world, if you want to see a world filled with laughter, you got to go out and you got to find reasons to make people smile. You have to find reasons to make people laugh. It's just something that it's a moral imperative for me. I really don't know what else to say about it. I feel better after seeing those smiles, after seeing that laughter, hearing that laughter. Hey, Carrie, how's it going? So, it's just one of those things that I really do appreciate is being able to brighten a day for a little bit, even if that person doesn't remember me 5 seconds after I'm out of sight. I'm not in it for fame. I'm in it because of my addiction to seeing smiles and hearing laughter. Long ago in college, I set up a set of Asplin's rules or Asplin's laws. And again, I just did it as kind of a throwaway gag, and it ended up taking off and being kind of a thing with me and my friends. The first law was Asplin's law number 1: beautiful women must smile at all times. Followed by Asplin's law number 2: all women are beautiful when they smile. And in today's age, I guess that's going to kind of have to morph into beautiful people should smile at all times. And law number 2, of course, being all people are beautiful when they smile. Way on down the line was Aspen's Law number 326, Smurfs taste like chicken. Of course, there's not actually 326 laws. It's because I was being a goof ass and just screwing around. My laws jumped around a bit. Pardon me. Yes, Kiri. I agree that kind of addiction is one of the best addictions in the world to have, because it rarely affects people in a negative fashion. And while I'm thinking of it, happy belated birthday, Kiri. And Facebook comments aren't showing up in my StreamYard stream, so I'm just going to read them off over here because I actually have the Facebook live stream up on another window so I can actually see any of those coming in. Nick is saying, hey, Rich, how are you, bud? Been better, been worse. Can't complain. I'm on the right side of the green. Anything else is getting greedy. And then Nick follows along the line with, when you don't feel good, do something to help others. I get it. And actually, yeah. I'm going to get slightly religious here for a moment. And for anyone that does not follow the same beliefs as me, I apologize. The way I'm going to come at it is from a fairly secular, hierarchy overview of it. So we're not going to get into the granularity of my Christianity or anything like that. But in my faith, and in many faiths that I've seen elsewhere, it talks about doing things for other individuals. And often doing those things for other individuals can give us a sense of fulfillment, a sense of completion, a sense of purpose, a sense of being. And this is along what I was saying earlier about be the change you want to see in the world. When the world has you down, do what you can for others, because that will lift your spirit as well. You will start seeing a brighter side because you are in the trenches trying to help others. A lot of the individuals I know that suffer from the most ennui and weird variants of depression are the people who don't have to work for things, the people who don't give back. And I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not naming names, I'm not casting stones. When I start getting down, I try to help where I can. And sometimes all that help I can give is a snarky comment that can go ahead and make somebody laugh or something like that. Sometimes I can do a little bit more. Sometimes I'm in decent enough health where I can actually help somebody out. Sometimes it's I've got a little bit of extra cash and I can donate to help someone get a meal or something like that. One thing I've noticed a lot as well, and I can't remember the name of the effect. The basic definition of the effect, though, is you start seeing something everywhere you go because your attention's been brought to it. So you buy a red car. You start noticing red cars everywhere you go. You see someone say a certain phrase. or sorry, hear someone say a certain phrase, and you start hearing that phrase in multiple other locations that you never really noticed before. And I know there's an actual um, name for that effect. I do not recall it off the top of my head. I apologize. Um, but that could be why I'm seeing the effect I'm about to talk about right now is I've noticed that a lot of more affluent people hold on to their money and they don't want to give, they don't want to donate. They look for reasons to say, well, no, they're just going to spend it on booze. They're going to spend it on drugs. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Where you've got someone who has very little and they're willing to share what little they have. And I do see that a lot in the world. And again, I don't know if it's because of this effect that I can't recall the name of. But very well could be that, or it could very well actually be an actual trackable statistic out there in the world. But again, that brings me to be the change you want to see in the world. My father used to say this all the time, and it drove me and my sisters nuts. Love breeds love, and hate breeds hate. And he stood by that. And for the majority of my life, my father espoused that. And usually when my sisters and I were starting to get in the middle of a fight, love breeds love, hate breeds hate. Come on, you guys, So, it makes sense for me to go ahead and bring that back up in this little kind of memoriam for my father. But we should try to be the best people we can. And we're not going to be on point every single moment of the rest of our lives. But the act of striving, the act of trying to be better is what is going to make us a better person. Lack of success is not failure. Failure is giving up. If I decide, you know what, I'm cutting sweets out of my diet, and 2 weeks down the line, I just get a massive hankering for a Little Debbie brownie, and I go out and I get a Little Debbie brownie. Well, that's not cutting out the sweets. That's lack of success. Saying, to hell with it, I'm never going to be able to get rid of sweets out of my diet and just go whole hog, no pun intended, back into just binging sweets and stuff like that. That's failure. That's giving up on that attempt. Now, granted, that example is one that is set up to fail because it is an all or nothing kind of thing. Cutting back on sweets, only having a certain number of sweets, something like that would be a much more reasonable goal. And that's the thing a lot of folks don't realize either is we feel bad because we don't reach certain goals, but we aim too big for the goal. I want to have 20 300-page novels on Amazon by the end of the year. That is a stupid goal to set. It's one I will never be able to make. I want to try to complete one novel by the end of the year and have it on Amazon by middle of next year. More reasonable goal. So setting reasonable goals, because that can help stave off depression as well. is working towards these smaller goals. And the thing is, when you set a goal, you look at all the milestones it's going to take you to get there. Um, all the little milestones that it's going to take you to get there, and you start ticking those off one by one by one by one by one by one, and eventually you'll get there. And each of those little milestones is going to give you that little dopamine high. You're going to be like, hey, I made it. Let's go to the next step. It's gamification. In adult education, gamification is something that is being added back in because it does really work and really drive those learning goals for a lot of individuals. Now, it has to be balanced. You can't gamify too far because then people are just going to run up the points and they're not going to remember everything. You've got to strike a balance. And this is why we call this Random Richie, because I ramble and I jump from point to point to point, rarely staying on one topic for too long. So Kerry says, already on track on being the best person I can be. Actually felt like I finally started getting on that track this summer, and I feel good about good about it for once. Good on you, Kerry. Keep it up. Glad when my friends are able to actually go ahead and start making those goals, making those progress, and starting to really feel like they're hitting that stride, which is going to bring me to another pivot point real quick. There are a lot of people out there that like to tear other people down. And one thing it took me way too long to realize is if someone can't see your worth, fuck them. They're not worth it. They're the ones that are unworthy of you. You are a worthwhile human being. You are worthy. You are fucking awesome. And that goes for everyone. That even goes for my sisters, who sometimes just irritate the ever-loving hell out of me. It's a lesson that I try to teach my children. And for the most part, I think my children have at least got it because they'll at least pay lip service to it. They'll repeat it back to me because I've said it so many times to them it's not even funny. But you are a worthwhile human being. You are beautiful. You are wonderful. You have so much potential. And the world would be poorer without you in it. When I start getting really depressed, I hold on to one true thing. That one true thing has changed many times throughout my life. Back in the early days of college, when I was so lost it was not even funny, my one true thing was Smurfs were blue. Doesn't matter how trivial that one true thing is, as long as you hold true to that one true thing and remember that one true thing. In better parts of my life, one true thing was my family loves me, and I love my family. Today, my one true thing is I love my wife and kids and grandkids, and they love me. As long as you hold on to that one true thing and keep putting one foot in front of another, just one more step, breathe. Just one more step, breathe. Just one more step, breathe. You'll actually get through something a hell of a lot faster than you thought you could have. One more step, breathe. One more step, breathe. Just keep doing that. Don't look at the finish line. Look right in front of you. One more step, breathe. One more step, breathe. You'll be at that finish line a hell of a lot sooner than you think, because by doing that, you kind of zen out. You're not worried about the time passing around you. You're no longer worried about the distance you have left to go. You're worried about taking one more step, taking one more breath, taking one more step, taking one more breath. Sounds cheesy as all hell. It gets me through. It has gotten me through physically having to walk ungodly distances for a person in my physical condition. One more step, breathe. One more step, breathe. You know, again, it just takes time. You got to look at that. You got to focus on that, and you just got to keep going. And that's one thing that I think my dad and I would really agree on. Like I said, my dad was a hard worker. My dad would bust his ass for ungodly number of hours. We didn't make it off my dad's paycheck. We made it off my dad's overtime. Because of all the overtime he put in, that's how we were able to make our bills. That's how we were able to get through and everything. Is because of the extra effort that my father put into things. And that's the thing. You got to put the effort into the things that are worth it. Another thing that my grandma used to say, and technically I guess this should actually fall as number 3 in the most important lessons that she's taught me, is that nothing worth it is ever easy. Nothing easy is ever worth it. And that goes for a lot of things in life. She actually aimed that towards girls as I was growing up and in high school and stuff like that, basically trying to warn me away from the quote-unquote easy girls. Not like they would have anything to do with me in high school anyway, because I was fat and weird. Not much has changed, except I now have a Van Dyke and a sense of self-worth. Still weird, still fat, but now I'm okay with it. But anyways, it really does play into a lot of things in life. And it's those easy jobs. How often are they really going to be fulfilling? Now, that being said, if you truly love your job or career, you don't really notice how hard it is, and you might think things are easy, but you forget about all the hard work you did to get to that point. So the movie I was watching earlier was a movie called Greater. It was a movie about Brandon Burlsworth, a individual who was a walk-on player for the Arkansas Razorbacks, got drafted to the Indianapolis Colts, and 11 days after he got drafted, he died in a car crash. And it was a movie about his life and his inspiration and what he ended up being to so many people. In fact, there's actually a foundation dealing with helping young children who have problems with their eyesight, football scholarships, stuff like that. There's actually a trophy named after him that goes to the most promising player who started their college career as a walk-on player. But one of the things that he says in the movie, and again, I don't know if he actually said this in real life. This could just be a Hollywoodization, but it makes a lot of sense. Is he's standing in the mini camp for the Colts, and one of the coaches is talking to him, and he's like, "I can't believe it's this easy. Nothing to me has ever come easy." And the coach looked at him. He's like, "Easy? Boy, you're here because of the years of hard work you put into everything you do. You are here because of your hard work. This isn't easy. You walked a long road to get here." And yeah, that kind of reminded me of what my grandma used to say as well. So so I've managed to rant long enough to actually get off of the whirlwind of things that were going through my mind. So I'm probably going to go ahead and call it here in a couple of minutes. Actually, one more thing from Kiri is, yeah, my mind's on that finish line, but I need to focus on what I need to get there in order to get there. So I have read so many books and blog posts and things like that on goal setting, it's not even funny. So what you do is you set a short-term goal, a mid-term goal, and a long-term goal. And then what you do is you map out, okay, to get to my long-term goal, I need to do this. To get to my mid-term goal, I need to do this. To get to my short-term goal, I need to do this. And hopefully they'll all line up so that they're one path. And then again, as you get those short mini things, so if you look at a short-term goal is usually something within the next 6 months. A midterm goal is something usually in the year or two. Long-term goal is usually explained as like a 5-year goal. And then you look at that 6-month goal. Okay, what do I need to get there? Yeah, Kiri says, yes, my mind is focused on short-term goals first, and that's exactly it. But you break that short-term goal down into even smaller goals so that you can just go step by step by step by step. But also, do not look at these goals as a be-all, end-all. If you miss one mini goal, that the world is over. So I tried the keto diet. My wife and I managed to stay on it for about a year. And we did dirty keto. We weren't hardcore into the keto stuff. We were dirty keto. But one of the things that we kept seeing in a lot of the articles that we were reading for keto is you're going to screw up. You're going to miss a goal. You're going to have days where you're going to have accidental days where things happen and you're not able to do this, that, or the next thing. So you're going to screw up by willfulness. You're going to screw up by not knowing something happened. All sorts of stuff like that. If you screw up, just start back up immediately. You fall off the horse. You get back up. You try to ride again. And that helped. And that. So I've had my theory of lack of success is not a failure for probably about going on 30 years now. And that lined up so well with that philosophy that I'm like, all right, yeah, we'll try this because, it seems very forgiving. And we need to be forgiving as we're setting these goals. Because again, lack of success is not failure. Now, even though I despise Thomas Edison as a man, there is one quote attributed to the man. Now, whether he actually said this or not, I don't know, but at least this quote is attributed to the man. And I'm going to screw it up somewhere because I'm not going to get the numbers exactly right. But hey, lack of success is not a failure. And that was, someone asked him, why he kept trying to invent the light bulb after how many ever failures. I don't remember the exact number. I'm going to say 500. My brain wants to say that number is much larger, but we'll go with 500 just to get me to shut the hell up and get the story over and done with. And he's like, I didn't fail 500 times. I found 499 ways it didn't work. And this stuck with me at a very young age. And, it finally crystallized into that theory that lack of success is not failure. It's just simply lack of success. All you got to do is keep trying. It's not failure if you don't give up. It's only failure when you finally give in. And if you keep at it, you might make it. You might have to pivot and go, okay, maybe this goal is not working. Let's try going this way, which will be slightly adjacent. You're still not giving up. You're refocusing and rerouting. Again, to try to work on that path to success. And with that, it is 11 p.m. I have ranted and rambled for quite a while. 42 minutes according to the clock in the upper corner. So I'm going to shut the hell up and go ahead and get ready to go to sleep and join my wife. Kiri says, take care of myself. Will do, Kiri. Will do the best that I possibly can. Light, love, laughter, hope, and happiness to everyone that's out there. Love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being a friend. Sorry, my apologies to whoever composed the Golden Girls theme song. But seriously, without you guys, without my wife, without my kids, I don't know if I would have anywhere near the wherewithal to try to be the better man. So build people up, reach a hand down, lift people up to be on your level. Don't tear people down above you because it's pointless and it's more headache and heartache than it's worth. Have a great one, folks.